It's time for Recipe of the Day. Shepherd's pie is one of those classic comfort foods that I stopped cooking a very long time ago, and the reason was that it was just kind of a pain. You had to cook up your meat mixture with a gravy, and then separately you had to make mashed potatoes, and then the potatoes have to go on top of the meat mixture, then the whole thing bakes. No, I'm just not doing that, especially not like when my kids were young and things were really busy, work, life, everything. And so I started doing this shortcut version that involves hollowing out some baked potatoes. And now I do that even when it's just me or one other person here, because it's just a quick little hack for having all the delicious flavors of shepherd's pie in much fewer steps and much more quickly. So these are shepherd's pie stuffed potatoes for two, basically for a small household. And you know, I'm obsessed with cooking for a small household, so there are more recipes like this one coming out all the time. So this recipe has you start with some potatoes that you're actually baking in the microwave, which is a really quick way to get baked potatoes. They're not really baked, they're microwaved, but they are cooked whole. And I have found over the years that if I do that and then either put them under the broiler or in the air fryer or on the grill, I get a nice crispy outside and fluffy inside in a fraction of the time. So that is one of my favorite ways to make baked potatoes. Instead of baking them in the oven for like 45 minutes, it is much quicker. So that is kind of the inspiration base for this recipe, is microwaving the potatoes, but then I'm not doing the crisping the skin process because I like everything kind of soft here, you know? It's like that nice, soft, comforting shepherd's pie kind of thing, no crispy potato skins. But you could absolutely do that if you wanted to. Okay, so, the other thing that you could absolutely do if you wanted to is use leftover baked potatoes. If you have some baked potatoes from the other day in the fridge, that works perfectly here as well. But I'm going to assume that you don't. So you are going to start by preheating the broiler in your oven. We aren't crisping up the skins, but we're going to use it for something else. Then you're going to get 2 medium potatoes, like baking potatoes, or really however many you're making for the number of people you have. This serves 2 people, 2 medium-sized potatoes, okay? So you're going to stab each potato in a couple places with a fork, and then you put them on a microwave safe plate in the microwave and cook them on high power for 5 minutes. At that point, you test if they're cooked by poking on both sides, top and bottom, with a fork. If it goes in really easily on both sides, then they're done. If not, flip them over and cook them for another 1 to 2 minutes until they are fork tender. Then set the potatoes aside to cool off just enough that you can handle them while you cook the meat mixture. So I'm telling you how to make enough of this meat filling for 2 people, but obviously you can scale it up or down if you wanted to. So you're going to heat a medium-sized skillet over medium-high heat. And I'm going to say here that one of the tricks that I've learned for cooking for 2 or for a small household is to use the tools that are the right size so that you don't end up making too much. So instead of getting out my usual big skillet and starting with that, I go for the medium one. And then I'm less likely to keep adding more vegetables, a little bit more of that, because there's less room in the skillet. So choosing the right size cooking tool can really make a big difference when you're trying to reduce waste and trying to just make the amount that you want to make, right? So that's a medium skillet over medium high heat, and you are adding to that a 1/2 pound of ground beef, or you could use ground turkey or ground chicken. Ground turkey breast can get a little dry. I'm going to link actually to my how to cook ground turkey post on the website, because ground turkey can get dry and I have some tips for making sure that doesn't happen to you. But yeah, you could use any of those here. You could also use any kind of leftover cooked meat. You just wouldn't cook it for as long right now because it's already cooked through. You would just be heating it. But let's assume you have the 1/2 pound of ground beef. You add that, stir it a bit to break it up, sprinkle with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Give that a stir and keep stirring occasionally until it's cooked through. It'll be 5 to 6 minutes. Then if there's any fat accumulated in the bottom of that skillet, drain off that fat, and then you're going to sprinkle the meat with a tablespoon of regular all-purpose flour. Sprinkle that over top, then stir it in, and then stir in a 1/2 cup of beef stock. I have low sodium called for here, low sodium beef stock. That's just because I like to control how much salt is going into things, and so that's why I use the low sodium, but you could use the regular one, or if you're using like a bouillon cube or something like that to make the 1/2 cup of stock, which is a great thing to do when you need a small quantity like this, then you just want to maybe be a little careful with the salt in the rest of the recipe, because those bouillon cubes, better than bouillon paste, all those things can be a little on the salty side. Okay, so you added the flour, you stirred it in, then you add a 1/2 cup of of the beef stock and a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. That is so classic in here. And then you want a half cup of frozen mixed vegetables that you have thawed. You could thaw those in the microwave, or you could have just put them out at the beginning when you first started. That would work as well. Also, you can skip those frozen mixed vegetables and instead use any cooked veggies that you have, a half cup of them. If you've got some leftover cooked broccoli or cauliflower or even some spinach you want to wilt up really quickly, any of that is going to work really well here. I do like having frozen veggies in some of my recipes for two or for small households because they are handy. They're just there. You pull them out, use what you need, put back what you don't need, and you're not like wasting fresh vegetables going bad in your fridge or having to open a whole can of something and then only use half of it. So it is a good strategy, but not necessary. There are lots of different routes that you can take on making this dish. Okay, so you've added the veggies into there and you're going to give that a stir and then keep stirring occasionally until it comes up to a simmer and the sauce thickens. It's going to be about 2 to 3 minutes. By then, your potatoes should be cool enough to handle on the outside. If not, you can wear a clean oven mitt or use a clean kitchen towel to just protect your hand a little bit. And then you're going to cut the potatoes in half as though you were doing like split baked potatoes. And then you scoop out the middle, all that potato from the middle, keeping about a ½ inch of potato along the skin edge and bottom. Put all the potato that you're scooping out into a bowl. To that bowl, you are adding a tablespoon of butter, a little bit of salt, and a tablespoon of milk. And then you mash that up. Taste it. It should taste like fluffy mashed potatoes. If you want a little more salt in it, if you need a little more butter, a little more milk, you can do that. And then you're going to put those hollowed out potato skins on a baking sheet. And then into each of the 4 of those that you now have, you're going to scoop a quarter of your meat mixture. And then you top each one with a quarter of your fluffy mashed potato mixture. And then that is going under the broiler just until the tops are a little bit brown. It's just going to take a couple of minutes. Watch it carefully. And there you have it. Really quick and easy shepherd's pie for 2. Doesn't take a lot of time. It's literally 30 minutes from start to finish. So easy. Very versatile. You saw we could use different vegetables. You could use different kinds of meat, leftover meat, any of that. So really versatile, easy and quick. And you don't have any leftovers, not a big pan to deal with at the end. Just exactly the amount that you wanted to eat. That is perfection. And I will just let you know that I am currently doing a lot more recipes for 2 like this one. And we're going to be starting a little community for people who cook for small households, who cook for 2 a lot and want these kinds of recipes and tips. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Keep coming back here. Come to thecookful.com. That is where it's going to be starting. And you will see that. You could also sign up for my newsletter. If you go to thecookful.com/start-here, you'll see Cook With Us and you can put your name and email address there and then you'll be notified about this Cooking for 2 project community excitement that's going to be there. It's going to be on social media as well. We'll be talking about it. I am Cook the Story on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Cook the Story over there. So stay tuned. There is more of this great Cooking for 2 coming your way. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.